From Anshe Sfard Beth El Emeth Congregation, it's time to take 10 Minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein.
Welcome to our discussion of Parashat Chayei, the four worries. If we look at Parashat Chayei, we find Yitzchak. Now, Yitzchak is coming home from Be'er Lachairoi, this place where, as the Sforno pointed out, was a place that that God had heard the cries of Hagar and Ishmael, and therefore he thought it would be a good place to pray. And so therefore, according to this narrative, he went out to pray in the field before the evening. And that's where we get the idea of mincha, of davening, before the evening comes. However, not everyone agrees that he was praying here. The Rashbam and Chizkuni think that he was planting trees. After all, we know that Yitzchak is the great horticulturist, the great farmer, among all the forefathers, the others being shepherds. Rashi, of course, thinks it is prayer, but the Radak thinks also he was being mitayel ben asichim. He agrees that the word basadeh has to do with the shrubs, but rather that he was just going for a stroll among the shrubs. So different views. But according to rabbinic teaching, he was davening mincha. He was saying the afternoon prayers. The Avraham also was caught praying, because what is praying? Praying is standing before God. As Reb Chaim Salvegi explained, you can have more intent or less intent about the words, but the main thing in prayer is to know that you're standing in front of God. That's what we do 3 times a day. We stand before God. So it says, Avraham Odenu Amed Lifnei Hashem, God, Abraham remained standing in front of God, praying for Sodom and Amorah even after their conversation. And later on it says, Avraham woke up in the morning to the place that he stood there in front of God. Apparently, he stood in the morning, and from here the rabbis learned shacharit, the idea of the morning prayer. Then we have Yaakov. Yaakov, he sees that Kiva Shemesh, that he sees that the evening is coming. So Vayivgav Makom, he entreated God, he adjured God, he urged God. Ma'ariv is a very audacious thing, even when things are very dark and dismal and abysmal in your life. You adjure, you urge God, please, you've got to do something for me. Evening is a tough time. Sometimes we have lots of worries at night. But if you think about these 3 characters and where they were in life, they were really worrying about 3 different things. We started with Yitzchak, that's this week's Parsha. Yitzchak was worried about what? Well, he's getting older. Maybe he's about 60 years old. He's not married. He's worried about a wife. Maybe he heard that his father is engaging a wife for him. He's worried, who's this going to be? Should be the right person. Who's this? Eliezer is finding him a wife. What's going to be? And that's Yitzchak. He's praying for a wife. And indeed, Sforno says, before he could even finish his prayers, there's Rivka coming, so his prayer was answered right away. What about Avraham? Avraham in Parshas Va-yeara, what is he praying for? He's worried about the world. It's true, he has problems with his children. He doesn't have any children, he only has Ishmael, he's looking forward to Yitzchak. But it's the world he's worried about. He's worried about the justice. He's worried about Sodom and Amorah, the destruction of Sodom and Amorah, as evil as they are, but maybe they'll be destroyed. Maybe they shouldn't be destroyed. Maybe there's some righteous people there. How could they be destroyed? That's what Avraham spends his time worrying about. That's what wakes him up early in the morning to worry about these things. And Yaakov, he's worried about Lechem Lechol Beged Lilbosh. He says right there, what is he worried about? He makes a prayer. There, it's an explicit prayer. And he says, if you give me clothing to wear, food to eat, and I come home in peace, then I'll be okay. He's worried about his safety, and he's worried about his parnasa, making a living. How's he going to make a living? He didn't know that his father, his brother, his uncle would make this great offer for him and all that. So Yitzchak is worried about parnasa. So really, we have here the 3 worries. Number 1, Avram's worried about the world problems, politics, global warming, democracy, things like that, justice. Yitzchak is worried about a wife. When you're not married, you sit around, you worry, when am I going to get married? How am I going to get married? Should I get married? How come I'm not going to get married? What am I? It's a worry. And then Yaakov is worried about making a living. Parnasa, that's one of the things that keep a lot of people up at night, is how am I going to make a living? How am I going to support the family? How am I going to make what am I going to do if this job doesn't work out, or I don't have a job, or what am I going to do? The job is great, but the market is low, and these are things that people worry about. The world, if you're really high-minded like Avraham, a wife, when you're a certain stage of life, and then making a parnasa, something that you always worry about, making a living. However, I call it the four worries, because you could argue that Avraham, although he's standing there more explicitly praying about Sodom and Amorah, but he's worried, will there be a child? He's hoping, he's probably believing in God, he's hoping there'll be this child, but he's hoping for children. And so too, Yaakov, he doesn't just want to make a living, come home in peace. He wants to have a family, and also he wants to raise the tribes of Israel and have children. So perhaps Avraham or perhaps Yaakov also alludes to the fourth worry that people have, their children. How the children do, what's going on with them, how come if they're, God forbid, ill, or someone passes away, God forbid. These are things that keep people up at night. These are worries that we have. And the three prayers are designed to address these four worries. Perhaps the Shachrit is more addressed toward the family, building a family. Perhaps the Mincha is directed more toward the field, making a living, and also toward a wife, and building our family relationship with our wife. Perhaps Ma'ariv is more related to Parnasa, worries of making a living, perhaps also worrying about children. Will there be children? Will we have children? Will we have grandchildren? All these different worries that we have. We say, the prayer mentioned in the Gemara and Brachos, that the needs of the Jewish people are many. And, we don't even have the words to pray, to know what to pray. God should fulfill the desires and the prayers of each one of us, and each one of our worries should be allayed. Each one of our worries should be answered. And like Yitzchak, as we're beginning to pray, before we even finish our prayers, we hope God will answer us and grant us, indeed, solutions to world problems, solutions to problems of children, problems of spouses, husbands, wives not getting along, and solutions to the itinerant problem, the problem of making a living. I hope indeed we bless everyone. Everyone who's listening, they should be blessed. Family, children, wives, and whatever your situation is, should be a good general political situation, to be justice and peace in the world. And with that, even if our other areas are lacking, with justice and peace, when there's peace, there can be a good life for us all. We thank you for joining us here at the Anshe Sfar Beth Elameth congregation for our discussion of the Parsha. Join us each week for a discussion of the Parsha and the holidays. Thanks to Jason Lefkowitz, our producer.
This has been 10 Minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein. To learn more, visit asb.org.